episode number 32, coming from
there we go.
Here in Hamilton, Ontario. Ryan Cannon, wide awake as am.
Oh, yeah.
How you doing today, Ryan?
Good, good. It's been a long day.
It's been a long day.
It's been a long day, and I moved the wrong knob, and, well, whatever. Fuck, fire me.
It's all uphill from there. It's a good show. We got a really good one tonight. We have, we overuse this term frequently, but in every sense of the word, we have a Hamilton... a legend, in the studio tonight. We have Mr. Sonny Del-Rio, who is, saxophones player, saxophonist, adored by everyone in town. He's got stories and he's got a history, and I'm sure as hell going to learn a thing or two. Thanks for coming in the studio tonight, Sonny. How you doing?
Good, Kevin. Nice to be here.
Nice to be here.
Ryan, thank you so much.
No problem.
Number 32, eh?
Number 32.
I'm actually number 11 in the greatest Hamiltonians of all time,
really?
According to The Spectator.
And I trust The Spectator because they've got,
Lincoln Alexander was number 1, and I'm number 11, greatest Hamiltonians of all time.
That's pretty good because it's an old city. We've been around for a while.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
But you
and legendary, now legendary is actually official. It's official. I am the legendary sax man, Sonny Del-Rio, because Graham Rockingham says so. In his Spectator article recently, about a week or so ago, he mentioned that we'll be playing the Blues Cruise with Trick Bag, and special guest would be the legendary sax man, Sonny Del-Rio. So that makes it official. Not to mention 55 years of rock and roll. I think that makes it official.
I think that makes it official, too. I've seen some black and white shots of you where you were like a real badass. I mean, you were playing... At what age were you out playing clubs?
15.
15?
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of...
My first gig was the Chicken Roost. Downtown Hamilton, Chicken Roost. And you had to be 21 to drink in those days. So I had to go to the underground, seedy side of Hamilton and get falsified identification papers from the mafia and to go and play the Chicken Roost. That's right. Ronnie Hawkins was playing upstairs at the Golden Rail.
And the music scene was really bubbling at that time.
Yes, it was. Yeah, sure. Just down the street was Duffy's Rock Pile, Duffy's Tavern. You go downstairs, down to the basement for a Rock Pile burger. They were the best in town. And you had, Gatto and Rush, and those bands were playing that room at that time. And just up the street was the... famous, the Big Buddha there, the Forbidden Room. Yeah. What was the name of that club there? The Grange.
Yeah, the Grange.
The Grange was very famous. The Grange was there, yeah, for sure. Around the corner was the Flamingo Tavern. I played there in 1959. Ronnie Hawkins recorded, this famous song there, whatever that is. Come on now.
Okay. Who do you love?
No. People see us everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
They think you really care.
It's only make-believe.
They know, yeah, it's only make-believe, right? Yeah. He was staying at Fisher's Hotel. He wrote it on the back of a napkin. It's an old story, yeah.
But and they talk about the TH&B sound and what that meant, but it was a real crossroads because you got not only a hell of a good local base, but a lot of traveling musicians who would stop and gig in Hamilton on their way to...
Yeah, you had the Brant Inn, there, and the Hamilton Pier, that they had the big bands play there. Port Dover at the Summer Gardens. Pop Ivy ran that place. And, all the big bands, Benny Goodman, Kenton, Stan Kenton, Artie Shaw, they all played there.
Now, as a sax player, is that an instrument that you just fell in love with or you fell into?
It's an instrument that I fell in love with when I fell in love with rock and roll in 1957. Might have been 56 I might have fell in love with rock and roll, but by 1957 I was convinced that I was going to be a saxophone player. And by 1961 or 62, I remember very clearly, playing in St. Catharines, can't remember the club now. But I came off stage and... people wanted to buy me a drink. Now, this was kind of common, but this was very early in my career of playing nightclubs, real nightclubs. Nightclubs were different from beer parlors. It was a lot different back in those days. Nightclubs was really about showbiz and entertainment and the illusion of something, And so they wanted to buy me a drink, and I remember sitting at the table, and they bought me a couple of drinks, and they introduced themselves to me, and one was a judge, one was a lawyer, and one was a doctor, I think it was, and they were buying me drinks and saying how great I was. And afterwards, I thought, geez, those guys are like, big shot professional people, and I'm doing something that they can't do, that they wish that they could do. I realized it was like a gift or something, and I consciously made that decision at that time. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life.
And was it something that was encouraged in your family, your life, or was that a kind of an act of rebellion?
Well, I was encouraged. I had rock and roll in the family. My grandfather, Joe Grasley, my real name is Dennis Grasley. I think everybody probably knows that. My Uncle Joe was a fiddle player. And he used to go out on Saturday night and play in the local bars and everything, or local taverns or legions or whatever the case may be, with his buddies. And they'd play bluegrass music or whatever, hoedown stuff, and they'd drink and carouse. And so my grandmother hated rock and roll, right? And my grandfather was a rock and roll kid. He won second prize at the Canadian International Exhibition for the old-time fiddling contest. And that was a huge honor.
Big deal.
Back in those days, for sure. Be like winning a Juno or something, I guess, whatever. But so she turned, then my grandmother had, I think, 8 sons and 2 daughters, my father being one of those boys. And the mother, of course, said, oh, that's the devil's music or whatever, you stay away from music. So none of his generation were involved in music. But then in my generation, there was quite a few people involved. Ray Grasley was kind of a famous Hamilton cat. He played for many years around there and was a big influence on me when I first started playing. He played the doghouse bass, the big stand-up bass. He played drums later in his life. He also played the saxophone. Smoked some of my first joints with Ray back in 1966. He used to go to Buffalo, New York in the 50s and smoke with the jazz musicians in the underground clubs and stuff. He was a big influence on me. He was a great musician. Died young, around 51 years old, I think he was, actually. And others in the family were involved with a rock and roll vocal group. A couple of my cousins were in a rock and roll vocal group, and they were playing with like T-Bone Jackson and stuff like that in Niagara Falls and stuff a lot. So they encouraged me when I started playing the saxophone. You're honking and squeaking, and of course my style hasn't changed much in 55
Come on.
According to Jack Pedler's, one of Jack Pedler's songs, it's a honking and a squeaking, rocking it, or I don't know, whatever. But Jack, he's a little bizarre sometimes. But yeah, I've always been a honker. That's what I am. I'm a honker. But they encouraged me in the early days, and I going back to 1956, rock and roll came to town with, Bill Haley and the Comets was really the first one with Rock Around the Clock.
That set people on.
And, I played with Ronnie and the Rockets for many years, and we played that song as part of our repertoire, Rock Around the Clock. And that's got a sax solo in it that only has 2 notes in it. And I've always sort of felt that was like the greatest rock and roll sax solo ever, It's just so moving. As the song goes along and then the sax solo comes, it just accelerates it into another level of rock and rollness, a higher level of rock and rollness with just 2 notes.
Yeah.
And I find that instrument, my instrument, the saxophone, does that. It's the icing on the cake or whatever.
Yeah, I think with any stringed or wooden instrument, the closer you get to the heart of a person, then the more the humanity comes out.
That's right.
It's hard to replicate. And with the breath that comes out of any reed or any wind instrument, you can really do that. And you can because that instrument also, like the saxophone was really kind of shit on, and it wasn't revered in a classical sense, the way a clarinet was, or a lot of the other reed instruments. It was considered a dirty instrument because it was used in jazz and whatnot. And then when jazz started getting a level of acceptance, when rock and roll came on, it was really the new dirty kid. And it would probably be hard to find a teacher or instructor. Were you completely self-taught on the instrument? Or
no, I was not. No. We fell in love with the instrument, Lee Allen, who plays with the guy with the mustache, little pencil mustache, might become a phrase. Little Richard. Okay, Little Richard. Hey, my memory's a little shot. Okay, you're gonna have to bear with me. I'm gonna be 70 in a couple of months, and I've been, bear with me if it takes me a moment to search those computer banks and pull out that information. Little Richard. I remember buying him his first record, that had Jenny and Long Tall Sally and all those great tunes on it. And his sax player was Lee Allen, and that's the instrument, and that's the Lee Allen that I fell in love with, rock and roll. He's also played for Fats Domino as well, and whatnot. But great player. And so then I went to high school then, and I had a choice of taking art or music as one of my optional courses, however. So I chose music. Then I had a choice between taking vocal music or instrumental music, and I chose vocal music. So I was in the choir sort of thing. I went to a vocal music class, and they had a vocal music teacher, and there was only 3 students in the class.
And
me
2 girls.
And 2 fat broads. Oh, no, did I say that? No. Me and 2 lovely young ladies. I don't recall their names at the moment, and I hope they don't remember me. But that was a disaster. So I failed grade 9 and had a chance to start over again the next year. I took the instrumental course, and I took the saxophone. And Joe Ward was my teacher, and a very, very good teacher. And I played in a band and stuff. But after about 6 months, he said, if you really want to play the saxophone, Dennis, you seem to have an aptitude for it, and you seem to be really enjoying it. You better take some private lessons as well. You need to read music. You need to understand music more, and learn at a higher level than you get here twice a week, a half-hour class. So I did. I signed up and took some private lessons, which is eventually getting to answer your question. And a gentleman by the name of Dewart McLean from Waddington's Music down on John Street was my teacher. And he was, although not a rock and roller guy, which was, again, part of your question, as I recall, he was a professional musician, professional sax player, had been on the road, world tours and whatnot. He was an English guy. And he was famous for playing at the Kit Kat Club in London, England. It's a real hot spot and everything. And so he did teach me some, kind of basic jazzy saxophone tricks or techniques or something, and was very encouraging to go beyond what the music books were teaching us at the time.
But you've got a reputation of having the magic lick or the magic riff or having the phrasing that comes with it. Is this something that you think you're born with, or is this something that you acquired or got better at?
I wasn't born with it. I was reborn with it in 1956, 1957, when rock and roll came to town. It was natural to me at that time. I was an avid listener of music and fell asleep every night listening to the radio, piano concertos and big band music and Amos and Andy and, the radio culture of the time. And I loved music, but I had never heard nothing like rock and roll. Rock and roll, it was just like an awakening or something. It was, something really, truly magical that happened. And now, after playing it for 55 years, sometimes the same song, I have developed an authority. It is the real thing. When you hear me play, you're hearing the real riffs from 1940s or 50s that I learned from other musicians or from just being soaked in the culture for so many years of playing it. I didn't always play this good. I'm blessed that after 55 years of playing, I'm playing better today than I ever played before.
Yeah.
I'm singing better than I ever sang before. I'm writing songs better than I ever did before. I'm better at my craft. I've been honing my craft. I'm active at my craft. I'm rehearsing 2 or 3 days a week. I'm playing 2 or 3 nights a week. I'm working my craft and honing, and I'm blessed that way. People like Wayne Gretzky and Brett Favre, these kind of cats, they have to pack it in. And that's why there's so many suicides in retired professional athletic stars. Yeah. Because of the frustration, they're no longer can't do their art.
Yeah, not relevant.
They can't do their art.
Field in their own
and I continue to do my art. And Picasso did some of his best work in his 90s or whatever, and that sort of thing. and you're never too old for the blues.
No, it's true, and there's no shortage of players coming out, and it's nice that you're known for what you can do, and that phone will ring, and people will always, when they want a saxophone.
I've got a few projects on the go right now. I have my own band, 5-Star Review, which is a great band, really, really great band, and I'm really enjoying myself playing with this new band. It is relatively new to me, although I have my longtime friend and bandmate Danny Thomas, who's been with me for many years. He plays guitar in this band.
Yeah, very smoking good guitar player.
He is smoking good, and a real gentleman too.
A good singer too.
And Jason Colavecchia on bass guitar, who's outstanding and really, really good. And Robin Houston on drums, a real cool cat, a really good drummer. And a lady who is with us, Catherine Goodrick. She's a beautiful lady and a very talented performer and very graceful and really graces the stage with us. It's a real high-class act. We got a real high-class act these days.
Sounds like it.
I might have called it the Aristocrats. No, that's another story. I don't know if you know about that one, but
we'll get into that.
Yeah, so that's great. So I play with them on a regular basis. We're quite busy these days, but I also work with a few other bands. Quite often with Trick Bag, and we just finished doing the Blues Cruise for the King Biscuit Boy.
Beautiful Sunday too, wasn't it?
Sunday cruise. It was wonderful. Yeah, we had a great time on the boat there this year, and we played that for several years. And I'm looking forward to this Friday night. Now, this is Wednesday today, the 19th, I believe. And on the 21st, Friday, I'm playing at the Art Bar on James Street North with a beautiful singer, Sue Leonard. It's a CD release for her called Leonardville, and she is outstanding. She is really, really a beautiful singer, really outstanding. Yeah. I'm looking forward to doing the show. We have a great band surrounding her as well with Neil Nikifor and 2 background vocal singers and 2 guitar players and stuff. It's going to be great.
Very nice.
And I'm also really looking forward to my next tour. It's the nursing home tour. That's what I'm doing. Working with my record producer, Georgie Fab, and he and I are going on tour of the nursing homes. Now, it's my mother's 90th birthday on June the 24th. She's going to be 90. So we've rented the community hall, not rented, but booked it for a little party for her on Saturday, June the 22nd from 2 to 4 at Grace Villa Nursing Home. So I said to my friend, Georgie Fab, we should do a little show, and entertain the old folks. And that. So we've been working hard on it. Yeah. So we got about 35 minutes.
They're a discerning crew. Really I tell you can't phone it in there.
Wartime songs and stuff, and We'll Meet Again and Sentimental Journey and How Much Is That Doggy in the Window?
Yeah, dusted off a few of the polished apples. There are some good ones.
So then we said, well, hey, I'm sure it's going to be quite rewarding to see the drooling faces. To see the old folks enjoying the old music. And hey, try the gruel. Stay awake. We'll be here for half an hour. But no, it'll be rewarding because music transcends. When you go to those old people's homes, you see them interact with children, the older folks. You see them interact with children. You see them interact with animals, and you really see them interact with music. It triggers something, memories and stuff like that.
I've seen more than one things where the cognitive, the recognition that just lights up in people's eyes when they play music from their past.
That's right, exactly. That's right.
And it just absolutely brings way more.
So I'm sure I'm going to have to bring tissues because I'm sure I'll be in tears before I finish doing We'll Meet Again.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm sure you'll knock them dead, and in all good senses of the word. Have to enjoy the hell out of it.
I hope not.
Hope not fully, completely. You've got such a body of work. I want to play some of your music. So we brought in a bunch of different stuff, but we thought we'd go with some of your greatest hits. And I'm going to pick some songs, and maybe you can tell me a little bit about it before we spin them. I'm going to start off with War and Peace. Now, tell me about
this is from my CD. Hang on a second. I got it. This is from my CD, Blow Your Horn. Blow Your Horn, Man. I called it that because that's what people have been hollering at me for 50 years. Blow your horn, man. Sonny, blow your horn, man. Blow your horn. It's a time of a solo you were doing Kansas City or something at the Genesee House. Sonny, blow your horn, man. So I named that for that. And it starts off the CD starts off with this track from a very interesting story that goes along with the band. The band's called Terra Nai. And Terra Nai was a band that... we have time for me to tell this.
Oh, hell yeah.
We toured, we got together and played and toured back in 1973, 74, 75, around that era. It was a big production with all the most advanced technical gear and production values and 1,000-watt powers coming out, your yin yang and stuff. And we played all original music, and we had written this song called the Starship Suite. And it was like 50 minutes long, one piece of music. I had 2 or 3 saxophones on stage. I'd switch to the baritone or the tenor or the alto, whatever the case may be. We played the whole thing live, and it was very concept album.
It was trippy.
Prog rock, prog rock or something in the 70s. And one of the performances was at Mohawk College, and someone recorded it with a small recording device. I don't think it was like a real 4-channel deck or something. I think it was more like a stereo cassette deck or something like that. So then the band broke up a few years later, but they managed to capture this 50-minute performance, right? And the band broke up shortly after that. But everybody had a copy of this CD, this cassette deck of the Terra Nai Starship Suite. And everybody raved about it. You know, for 30 years, people were raving. Yeah. Oh, you remember that Terra Nai Starship? So anyhow, 30 years later, 2006 or 8 or something like that, a couple of years ago, everybody in the band is still alive and still hanging around. We said, we should really go in the studio. We always said, that's what they always said was regret when they played the Starships. That band never had a chance to get in the studio. You know, we'd have sold millions if we'd have got in the studio. So we got together at Georgie Fab, our record producer, and has a recording studio called Cellar Full of Noise. And we got together and we recorded the Starship Suite then on the album. We called the album the Terra Nai Experiment. A lot of it changed. A lot of it stayed the same. But this is an excerpt from that record, and it starts off my Blow Your Horn Man. It starts it off pretty aggressively, I think.
Well, that's what we like to hear at the Barbershop Podcast, a little War and Peace. Just in case you thought you were getting a bit of the same old, I like it. You start right off with a little bit of kick to the face. And like you said, that was the 70s. There was, Pink Floyd, and there was a lot of other bands where saxophone was featured.
Yeah.
And it's never really left the...
No, but it's sort of fallen out of grace a bit. As King Biscuit Boy used to always say, we're in the Novelty Instruments Union.
Yes.
When we take some extra breaks and go for a smoke or something.
But the upside is you don't have to, I picked up a mandolin a few years ago because there's always 20 guitar players at a campfire. But if you have something else, you'll always
the novelty instruments, that's right, yeah.
They're fun, especially when you can make them.
They're the icing on the cake. There's never, whenever I step on stage, and Kevin, I don't mean to be immodest or anything like that, but whenever I step on stage, I rock. You know, I rock and I add an element of excitement because the instrument is an exciting instrument, but also because of the way I perform it and my stage presence and everything. I get up there and I rock, and I always lift a level of rock and roll, like I said before, to a higher level, Yeah. And I find that exciting, and that's the novelty. That's the icing on the cake or whatever, you know, the stardust or something.
There you go. So, okay, let's talk about rock, because you reference it in a total different plateau. You don't talk about music. Rock is its own entity, like what it does, and it can be hard to define what type of subcategory of rock it is, but rock is something that moves you in a sexual way. It has very primal impact on you, right? So I want you to
wasn't getting sexual in particular.
No, come on.
But
you know darn well that you blow that horn.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, we talked about the horn earlier, a little bit earlier too, about wind instruments being a little different than guitar instruments, having more intimacy, as it were. And I wanted to mention at that time that I've always found the saxophone to be the instrument which most closely emulates the human voice. Yeah. You hear people say, oh man, he can make that thing talk, or he can make it wail, or he's screaming or something. I always like vocal interpretations. And I always found the tenor saxophone most closely resembles the male voice. Yeah. And that's why I chose to play the tenor saxophone as opposed to the baritone or the alto. And I thought an alto was more like a lady's instrument. Yeah. So guys who play altos, no.
But you need the big horn, right? You know, something about the honk.
Yeah, it's like driving a Cadillac or something.
Exactly.
Compared to a smart car.
You're not going to pull up in that thing.
It's got the balls. Let's face it.
Yeah, get it out there. And you probably like to record with all of them.
I do. I use all the instruments. And the alto sax is a very, very beautiful instrument. The soprano sax, the baritone sax. I've always been partial to the baritone. Tenor and baritone really are my two that I use the most. And you will hear the baritone sax often on my recordings. And these records that we're playing, songs we're playing mostly, of course, have lots of saxophone in them because that's what it's about for me. But oftentimes, for the magic of multi-track recording, I'm playing like 4 tenors at once and 3 baritones and 2 altos, and there's like sometimes we have as many as like 12 or 16 tracks of saxophones going, and it's me playing them all. Yeah. But of course, not all at once, you know.
But to you, it's like there's never enough.
But we don't do when all the recording I do, I don't like to just like double. There's a tool called a doubler, where you're playing a line or something, and you say, oh, okay, well, we can double that, and just hit a button, and now it's coming out in stereo on each side of the thing. You can do that with 16 tracks, but that's 16 all of the same track, and I don't like that, because I think the magic lies in the slight imperfections and tonal differences one track to the other.
I agree.
So I like to do, there's maybe 12 tracks, multi-track, but I record each one of them individually myself, and
going back, you know, talk about your first experiences broadcasting.
Sax players.
Yeah, no, just in general, the recording multi-track recording process also came along in the 50s. Yeah. And, you know, television and broadcasting, getting yourself out there, getting yourself recorded. Talk about some of your early experiences in getting stuff put down. The first time you heard yourself on the radio, the first time you had something pressed that you played on.
I guess I was kind of a late starter with that. Well, I don't know how late. I don't know. I didn't do much of that till the 70s, I guess. I started in '58, so yeah, I didn't get to be in the studio, I don't think, until the 70s. And then I,
kind of followed your nose. There's a lot of good producers that you run into.
I played. I'm trying to think what my first recordings were. I did some with King Biscuit Boy early, and Ray Materik. You know, I was on the road for many years with Ray Materik, and we did a great album fairly early in my recording career. We did that. Ray Materik. I was on King Kong Records, just called the Signature Album because it just has Ray Materik's signature on it. A funny story about that too. I'll tell you. You want to hear the funny story? Those people get to air the dirty line. Yeah, Ray. That's what they want to hear. This is in the trenches rock and roll. Ray's out there. I know he's listening live too. He's watching, but he may not want me to tell the story. But I got carried away.
Well, he's not coming on Facebook telling us not to play it. So not to tell
I don't know
so.
if he can do that or not.
No, I'm sure he'd find a way if he didn't want you to tell it.
But anyhow, we recorded that record, and it was a great record, and we did it at Nimbus 9, I think was the studio, or Phase 9 or something like that. And it was quite elaborate, and it was a great record, you know, all original stuff, and Ray had written, and a lot of the band guys who contributed. I helped on 2 or 3 of the tracks and stuff, and it was quite elaborate and cost a lot of money. And the graphic artwork, well, we had this separate poster, separate pamphlet that had all great pictures in the band and all that sort of stuff, and all the lyrics and everything. You know, it was a big production. Wound up costing a lot of money, and we owed the record company quite a bit of money by the time it was finished, you know what I mean? And they'd been it was overdue. The money was overdue, and they called us in for a big meeting to, called us in for a big meeting to pay this financial bill that we owed. It was in $30,000 or something. I don't remember what, you know. And so we go, what are we going to do? We go, I don't know. We'll just tell them we ain't got it. What are they going to do? I don't know. You know. So anyhow, we go into the boardroom. We go check in for the boardroom. We go in there. We got our stories all set. We're going to say. They go, okay, before you say anything, gentlemen, they say to us, before you say anything, gentlemen, we got some news for you. Unfortunately, Nimbus 9, or Phase 9 Studios, has gone bankrupt, and now you won't be dealing with us. You'll be dealing with our credit collectors or advisors or accountants or whatever like that, and they said, okay, fine, and they never asked us for anything. No, we never paid a penny. It was a write-off.
Lovely.
We go out there, we go, what has happened there?
Yeah. That's when you hold your word for an extra couple of seconds.
Yeah, exactly. And before we could say we don't have the dough, they said you don't have to pay us.
The dough. And it's like, oh my God, it's like perfect.
Yeah.
So we knocked on wood all these years, and it's
You know,
it's held tight. I want to play another tune. I want to talk about Sonny's Rock.
Sonny's Rock is actually not an original tune. That's a tune from Roy Wood, who's one of my favorite saxophone players. He plays all kinds of instruments, did solo albums with, plays 26 instruments. And he was the leader of The Move and the leader of Electric Light Orchestra, and really a great player, but basically a sax player and a honker. I really liked him, and I really liked this track, so I did a cover of it.
Okay, so here from the Barbershop Podcast, we've got Sonny Del-Rio doing a wonderful cover of Sonny's Rock.
Hey, look, there's Sonny.
He looks great. I just love his red shoes. Sonny, let's rock.
There's no rock like Sonny's rock. So we're talking about the years you've had in here, some of the different monikers you've gone by, some of the different transformations you've gone through.
Yeah.
So how'd you get the moniker Sonny Del-Rio?
And by the way, I'm appearing without sunglasses. You know, part of my shtick is my red running shoes and my sunglasses and my Hawaiian shirt. I don't have a Hawaiian shirt on.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Dennis Grasley is my real name. But Gramps Grasley, that's what Tom Wilson calls me. Ryan was just mentioning from Greg Cannon. I got a message from Greg Cannon saying...
from Adam, his son.
Oh, from Adam, right. They got a great band.
Yeah, the Virginia Wolves. We had them on here a little while ago.
Yeah, they're doing great. Well, his dad was a great player.
Yeah, in Florida Razors.
Yeah,
with
for
Tom
sure.
Wilson when I went to Mohawk back in the early 80s.
That's where they call me Gramps Grasley from, yeah. Tom always likes to tell a story about when I showed up at one of the gigs they were playing out in Burlington someplace, and I walked in with 2 shopping bags. And in one shopping bag had my saxophone, no case or nothing, just a saxophone. And the other one had a 26er of whiskey and 6 or 7 plastic cups or paper cups. I think it was paper cups in those days. Yeah. So they're right in the middle of a song. I walked in with the 2 shopping bags, walked up on stage, put the shopping bags down, got the cups up, poured everybody, polished off the bottle. There's only one hit in there, and got the sax on, and we rocked the rest of the night or something.
Yeah.
But Sonny Del-Rio, you know, not my first band, but my second band was Sonny and the Del-Rios. And that was the name of the band before I joined it, right? And so at first, nobody in the band was called Sonny. There was nobody in the band called Sonny. It was called Sonny and the Del-Rios. That's just the way they named bands in those days. It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But so depending, we'd be playing a high school hop or something, and, you know, I'd be a good-looking blonde chick, and I'd be courting her or whatever, or, you know, making some advances, and she'd say, "So you're Sonny, right? Sonny and the Del-Rios. That's you. That's right, baby.
Absolutely.
That's right, baby. I'm Sonny." Meanwhile, over on the other side of the gymnasium, the bass player is whining and dining. "That's right, baby. I'm Sonny." So got a little. But then, of course, it was the principal of the school coming down. Who smuggled that Mickey into the sock hop?
Where's
that Sonny? Where's that Sonny? Is that guy over there? No, is that guy over there? Yeah. So nobody would own up to it. But after about 6 months, I said, "Well, you know, you're singing lead vocals, you've got red hair and everything, you might as well be Sonny. From now on, you're Sonny." So then I became Sonny Grasley.
Right.
And I was Sonny Grasley from Sonny and the Del-Rios for many years, and it was about 20 years later or something. We were coming back from a particularly grueling trip to Newfoundland, where half the band had quit, and we carried on and moved our equipment in a dump truck, and stuff like that.
Classic rock and roll.
Yeah, sure. We're coming back. We're on the bus. We got no money or whatever. Jack Pedler's with me. You know, he was with me for like 35 years on the road, basically. I go, "Jack, we're in the trenches of rock and roll. You know, this is really what it's all about. You know, you got no money. You're bleeding a little for your art, bleeding for your art." And I started ranting, you know, about this. And so I said, you know, those guys from Sonny and the Del-Rios, well, you know, they got on to become hairdressers or school teachers or something, but, you know, this is 20 years later, and I'm still working in the trenches here, suffering. I said, not only am I Sonny Grasley from Sonny and the Del-Rios, I've absorbed the entire reality. I'm now Sonny Del-Rio. And so that's why I became Sonny Del-Rio from then on.
So it's one of those rare opportunities where you didn't put it on yourself, but you did. It was a situation that kind of fogged down, and if it wasn't for that trip.
It was 50 years later, flashback, so 1958, we're playing the Barton Community Center on Upper James, which were on Friday Night Dance. You know, we were hot then. And I'm playing with Sonny and the Del-Rios, and that was the name of the band before I joined it. So 50 years later now, 2008 or something like that, a few years ago, I'm playing some gig. Some guy comes up to me, an old guy comes up to me and he goes, "You stole my name." I go, What do you mean? He goes, "I named that band Sonny and the Del-Rios." He said, "You came in and took my job and took my name." He was joking. He was happy. You know,
okay, good.
With me, no, there was no animosity or anything like that. But he was the one who had originally named, and I never had met the guy.
Right.
I never heard the story all the time when I was playing with him or later.
Was he a sax player too?
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't a sax player. He was a guitar player or something. But Yeah, he was the one who originally named that band Sonny and the Del-Rios, and I didn't know him or meet him or know the story at all for 50 years later, and that was pretty funny.
Well, you went through a whole period where you were strictly playing live, and then doing your session work, and then you started the process of singing and becoming not only a singer
I was,
but a songwriter.
In the early days, I sang lead vocals with that band for a while, but mostly my job and what I was mostly comfortable with was right-hand man to the lead singer rock star, right? Like Clarence Clements is to Bruce Springsteen. That's the role for the saxophone player. I could have filled in when Clarence passed away. I could have done, because we play a lot the same, eh? Our style is very similar, and I was surprised Bruce didn't call me, as a matter of fact. But the big man and I play a lot alike, and that was always my favorite role. Playing with Ray Matarek, or playing with Crowbar, or playing with some of the other bands I play with, that was my role. Was so I wouldn't be doing lead vocals, particularly a lot of background vocals and occasionally a song or two. But then when I started getting my own band again later on, after I had my first record out and stuff like that, then I started to assume the role of lead vocalist and frontman, actual frontman for the show. And I do a real good job of that too, I think, by the way.
Well, we want to see a little video. We want to see some of the technology that's available.
Yeah, okay, you're going to show this video now, eh?
Show video.
Okay, this is, let me set the stage for this video then. This is my band, and the first video is called 7th Avenue Blue. And that's a song off of my first record, which I have here. 40 years of rock and roll, and all I got's the blues.
40 years of rock and roll, and all I got's the blues. It's in my collection somewhere.
Yeah.
So you put it on, I'm telling you, this is a feel-good record. It's really good, a lot of good stuff on it.
So this video runs, there's two songs that really run back-to-back, I think, on this video. The first one is 7th Avenue Blue. And these were produced by Jim Unsworth. I don't know if you know Jim Unsworth or not. He's a great Hamilton cat, cool cat, piano player, and big videographer guy, and real nice gentleman. And we had a lot of fun editing. That was one of my most fun things. I find that very creative, editing the video to go with soundtracks and stuff. So these two videos. The second one is Treat Your Baby Right, which is also on the 40 Years of Rock and Roll record. And all these tunes that we're playing tonight and all my music is available for 99-cent download per song on CD Baby or Amazon.com or iTunes.
iTunes will have all those links up on barbershoppodcast.com.
Yeah, sure, so you can get anything you want. Buy the whole records. And check out my website, too. My webmaster is always giving me heck. You don't promote the website enough. SonnyDelRio.com.
SonnyDelRio.com. You'll see it, the blue hypertext. Right. Click on there. You'll be able to go there.
So here's some videos that I think they turned out pretty cool. I really like them. I hope you like them, too.
Yeah, me too. Okay, barbershoppodcast.com. Sonny Del-Rio.
Well, it's raining again. It never seems to end. Deep in the heart of the city, midnight fashion, neon flashing voodoo, gunshots in the streets. It's too hot to sleep, and even this whiskey won't do. Norman Rockwell, paint me 7th Avenue blue. Well, the days slip by, all I do is get high with the boys down at Curly's pool hall. And the nights on the avenue are blacker than midnight blue. We ain't on Fillmore, this ain't no Bourbon Street. Man, it's life on 7th Avenue. Yes, I'm 7th Avenue blue. Never roll the bones with lady love. Broken hearted every time. We're to 7th Avenue Drive. Seems to end deep in the heart of the city. Midnight fashion, neon flashing voodoo. Yes, I'm 7th Avenue. We ain't on Fillmore. This ain't no Barber Street. Life and death on 7th Avenue. Yes, I'm 7th Avenue blue.
Grampy, let's rock!
King and Willie Dixon said it true. one is, you gotta treat your baby right every night. You can't be running around downtown, going to the Jamesville, hanging down there at Papa John with them old cats you like to hang out with. You gotta treat that lady with respect. That's what you gotta do. And Jamie just told you that. Tampa Red. Red Belly. Big Mama.
That was some good stuff. There were some, you got some real players that you played on. It was a lot of fun doing those videos.
Oh, yeah, I had a lot of fun. Did I mention Jim Unsworth was the producer?
Yeah.
Video prom studio, whatever. Yeah.
But you had your fingers in that. You producing. You knew.
Yeah,
exactly
I directed it. Yeah, I knew exactly what I wanted, and we had some stories about that. We had some fun with it. Yeah, we did it at Mermaid's Lounge. You remember Mermaid's? I know you guys played there too back in the old days, eh?
Back in the good old days.
Yeah, well, in that particular band, and matter of fact, on all my CDs, I guess I got 6 of them, I basically had the same band. Jack Pedler on drums, Neil Nikifor on bass, Mark Severin on guitar, he's passed away, and Jesse O'Brien on piano. Mm-hmm. I gave Jesse O'Brien his first ever professional gig.
Nice.
He'll tell you the story. It was with his dad, Obie. I don't know if you remember Obie.
Yeah.
Mike O'Brien, his dad, who passed away not too long ago. Great musician and a wonderful guy. Real Hamilton legend himself. And so, yeah, I'm playing a gig with Mike O'Brien, and we needed a keyboard player, or piano player. Not keyboards, it was just piano in those days. We needed a piano player for the gig. And he says, I got a piano player, I'll bring him out. I said, okay. So we go to the gig, and in comes this 12-year-old kid.
Fresh-faced.
He goes, this is the piano player. I go, what? He goes, oh, yeah, he's my son. He said, don't worry, he can play his ass off. And he did. He rocked. That was his first gig. He's been rocking ever since. He's a wonderfully talented piano player. And Mark Severin, who's passed away now, he was a great player as well. And we love and miss Mark. Canada Day coming up is his anniversary of his passing. He was killed tragically in a car accident on Highway 6 in his Corvette. And on Canada Day, he had played in Michigan the day before, flew back, no, not Michigan, Missouri, St. Louis, flew back in, and then drove up to Aurelia to play the gig and hadn't slept. He was like awake for like 38 hours or something when he was on his way home at 1 o'clock in the morning after playing in Aurelia. And I guess he fell asleep at the wheel and had on. Too bad for him, yeah. But yeah, and I played for many years with the
Jack Pedler. You're saying
King
like
Biscuit Boy.
Yeah, and King Biscuit Boy, and again, like the people who come from this area, you're not picking off the bottom shelf by any means.
Kelly J,
Kelly J, and King Biscuit Boy. Like, what was it like to play with some of these guys?
That was fantastic. That was some of the highlights of my career for sure. Playing with Crowbar. It wasn't the real Crowbar. I wasn't there when they recorded Oh What a Feeling. I mean, I played it every night 10,000 times. But for about 8 years, I guess, we were on the road. King Biscuit Boy, Kelly J, and myself, and Paul Panchizak, and Neil Nikifor, and Alex McDougall. And, we had a really great band, and we played all the Crowbar hits. And we were, legitimately enough, could call ourselves Crowbar because we had Kelly J and King Biscuit Boy. They were like the two main guys of Crowbar, so we felt kind of justified. Well, it wasn't my decision anyhow, but we felt justified in calling it Crowbar, and we had a great time with them. Played lots of really good gigs.
Yeah, Alex was on the show. We were here for almost 3 hours. The body of work that he's put together over the years.
Alex is a great player. Yeah,
and he could really comp anyone's lick, but has his own sound too. And I guess that's probably, in order to be busy, you need to do that. You need to be able to sound like yourself, but also be able to sound like someone else if that's what it calls for.
Well, guys like great players, they're, and the times are tough. It's a tough industry, and the industry is much tougher now than it was 20 or 30 years ago with the digital, developments. So, and the drinking and driving and stuff like that. There just isn't the venues anymore, and there isn't the market. The record companies have gone out of business left, right, and center for the last 20 years. And record stores, there's no record stores anymore. Thank God for Dr. Disc. Okay, Mark, keep rocking down there, Mark.
Cheapies, keep it flagging.
Yeah, for sure.
flogging the music, in the hard copy, and I still, hand it to bands and people who put out CDs in hard copies. A lot of times it's hard to justify, but
I had lots of fun playing with Teenage Head too. And I played quite a few gigs with Teenage Head and Frankie Venom, and that. We had a lot of fun with Frankie, and that. I recorded with them way back in the early 80s. We recorded together, and I played some gigs with them. One of my fondest memories is it was like the biggest round of applause or whatever that I ever got was playing with Teenage Head. We were doing it was Canada Day once again, and it was up at Molson Park up in Barrie. There was like 20 or 25,000 people there, and Teenage Head was playing, and they were playing, and I was a special guest. So when my time came, they we have a special guest now on the saxophone, Sonny Del-Rio, and I leaped onto the stage from the monitor, from the PA stacks or something of that nature. I was pretty rowdy in those days, and I know I had red pants on and stuff like that, and this big roar went up from the 25,000 people that were there on a Sunday afternoon or whatever it was. When I leaped on stage, this roar went up from the 25,000 people. Was the biggest ovation that I think I ever received in my career.
Choke on the reed at that.
It was a pretty exciting moment, I tell you. It was fun, yeah, for sure.
Well, we're quickly running out of time, and I want to get to some more of your music.
Yeah.
So much of it is so good. Let's play Say You Will. Tell me about...
Okay, Say You Will. It's a beautiful song. I really enjoyed writing that song, and I enjoy playing it every night. Most of these songs I still play in my live show, and I wish people would come out and catch my live show. It's pretty exciting, and I think you'll really enjoy it. This song is a beautiful love song. I wrote this, it's a funny story, and I don't know how relevant it is really, but I wrote this song kind of with a girl in mind that I was living common law with on Vancouver Island, and I kind of thought it was going to be forever. I really loved this lady, and I thought we had something real special going, and I wrote this song for her. Her name was Nadine, actually, and her name was in the song. I came home and did a demo tape of it in Vancouver. I brought it home and played it for her first time. She didn't say too much, and 6 days later, she left me without any warning.
The power of music.
I came home from work, and the furniture was gone, and she was gone. No note or nothing. I'm not kidding. It was like 6 months before I tracked her down to where she was and everything. So everybody's a critic. You know what I mean? Everybody's a critic. I can't get no respect. So I took her name out of the song.
Okay, well,
you won't find the name Nadine in this song anywhere.
I'm sure it still has the raw power that transcended at that particular time. So here for Barbershop Podcast, some more of Mr. Sonny Del-Rio, one of his own songs, Say You Will.
You move so gracefully across that smoky room. You thought those saxophones were playing just for you. We danced a fantasy in syncopated time. This must be love. I felt the magic when your lips met mine. Say you will. Say you will. Say you will. Say you will be mine. We held each other close, and as the morning light it came, you were so breathless, whispering my name. Is this my destiny? You're heaven sent, it seems to me. An angel, will you marry me, sweetheart?
She didn't say she would. She didn't say she wouldn't. She didn't say anything.
Fuck her.
Fuck her. Fuck her is right. It adds more fuel to the fire. And I mean, it's like that in the music business, right? You need a certain amount of push to go with the flow.
She's
right?
a good girl, but what the hell?
What the hell? You got a good song out of it, right?
Yeah. I think it's a great song. Did you like that song?
I do. It harks back to the innocent period of rock and roll, and Frankie Valli. And,
yeah, exactly.
And you talk about the sock hop. It's still, there was no such thing when I went to high school, but the fact that it was real. You actually played sock hops, and there was like people go out and there was cherry colas, and maybe and to French kiss someone is a big fucking deal. Yeah,
that's right.
And I have to say that
first base.
Yeah, I mean that's there's something to be said for that. This world gets pretty harsh and pretty crass pretty quick.
We've lost a lot of the niceties in the world. It was nice when a gentleman opened the door for a lady or stood up when she came to the table and those kind of things, holding hands or whatever. I don't know. It's just
dressing up to go out and having like the manners and decorum. It seems like too much of it is just.
They say the magic of the nightclubs was really something. As a musician, that was really a magical place, and the nightclub was really something. People would go out on Saturday night, get dressed up, and go out, and it's pretty cool.
And that's a big deal because you talk about the difference between a beer garden and a nightclub, and like people would eat dinner, and you go out, and dinner was part of the show, and we've gotten away from that. It's very difficult to kind of mix, and the people who try to mix dinners and shows have a hard time of it. But I think if you go out,
tough business.
Yeah, it's tough business on both sides, and it's a loss because there's enough other entertainment.
I think we might have turned the corner on that, though, Kevin. I'm optimistic that maybe we've turned the corner on that, and that there are more live venues coming up and more clubs where you can have dinner and everything and enjoy live music. I hope we have. I hope we're coming back to more of a live music thing again.
And I think it's important that people experience live music. It's quite a few people. That's the only way they could hear music because there was only a certain amount of radio stations that played the kind of music they like. And now we have so much choice. You actually have to make a real effort to go out and see a show. But you tirelessly promote and put on shows, a lot of charitable shows. You put on a Christmas show every year. You're as you said, very active and very busy, and you finally had some nice accolades kind of come your way recently. You won a the Queen's Diamond Jubilee award. Why don't you talk about that? I mean, that must have been quite a thrill.
Wow, that was really something special. That was a real honor to receive the Queen's Diamond Jubilee medal. Yeah, that was really something special. And I do a lot of charity work, and I guess that was kind of a recognition of, it wasn't in recognition of your contribution to the community. And, I've been giving to the community in the way of music for more than 50 years. But I do a lot of charitable things, too, and I've always had a soft spot for any kind of benefit. Anybody's having a benefit for somebody or other, they always call me, and I always go if I can. And I've put on 11 Christmas shows. Money goes to local children's charities, and I put out a CD. I just happen to have it here. Yep. This was great. This was really great. I know we're running out of time. This is Hamilton Hometown Christmas. There's 20 tracks on here by all different celebrities, like Matt Hayes and Mayor Bob Morrow at the time. Mayor Bob Bertina now is on here as well, and Matt Hayes and Nevin Grant and Boris Brott is on here singing. Boris Brott is on here singing. Lincoln Alexander's on here. It's fabulous. Yeah. And it's a really great record. I don't know if you have it or not, but there's about 10,000 of them in circulation around Hamilton, and I get a real kick at Christmas time, a couple of weeks before Christmas. I know people are dusting off, looking through their drawers and finding their record and putting it on. It's a wonderful musical record, and they're decorating the tree and wrapping their presents and playing this music, so it gives me a lot of pleasure for that. And this shirt's from one of the Christmas shows I did.
Sonny
and also on the committee. And friends,
look for it every Christmas season.
I'm also on the committee that puts on the Blues with a Feeling Festival each year, the King Biscuit Boy tribute. That monies go to support a music scholarship at Mohawk College and whatnot. So, yeah, I do a lot of that stuff. And a few years ago, we wrote a song for the troops that we're now performing live on stage as well, called Canadian Heroes. And that was a great song. I co-wrote that with Skip Prokop from Lighthouse and Georgie Fab, my record producer, and Rob Simpson And all the money goes to the Wounded Soldiers Fund and everything. And we made the record, Teenage Head's on it, and Brian Mello's on it, and lots of really great people are on it. And Brian Mello's a good friend of mine. It was we felt it should, it was great. The record turned out great, and everything was done. It was packaged, and but we wanted it to go national, right? Every Canadian would love to pay $5 to support the troops.
Yeah.
They'd love to do that as a little act of patriotism or something. And it's a great song and that. So we felt it should be like on the counter at the Royal Bank everywhere you went, or at McDonald's or something, or Canadian Tire or something. But we couldn't have seen to attract a national sponsor or a national distributor. And that really wasn't our field of expertise. So, and in the end, we turned it over to Chris. The waterfall, illuminating the waterfalls.
Yeah, Chris Eklund.
Chris Eklund, yeah, well-known Hamilton philanthropist and
does a lot of good work.
Patron darts and does a lot of good, right? And he took it to a national level for us, much more than we could. He sent 3,000 copies over to the troops in Afghanistan, and every fallen hero, every fallen soldier, he gives a gold record copy in a frame and everything with that particular Sergeant Johnson's name on it or whatever, like that sort of thing. And let's say all the proceeds go in. And he's taken it a step further with wrapping the cars with the Canadian Heroes logo and all that sort of stuff. It was good. And so when I got the Queen's Jubilee Award, it was at up the mountain there at Angelo's, Michelangelo's, and it was 20 people getting it at that same time there, and there was a lot of soldiers walking around with like old guys with just chests full of medals and in their uniforms and white gloves and really all that stuff, and everyone was a fantastic person who had given so much time and effort to their various community charities and things like that. Everybody received the medal. It was an outstanding citizen sort of thing, and I felt really humbled and honored to be amongst that group. And sitting beside me was an old soldier, an old veteran, and a little old guy with a full dress uniform and a whole chest full of medals, and we were sitting in order of when we were getting the medals presented to us. So he got his medal, and then I went and got my medal. And when I came back, and when they tell you, they say a little bit about why you're getting the medal, and so they said that I had recorded this record and my Christmas record and charity work I do and everything. But he mentioned the Canadian Heroes record. When I came back to my seat, this old soldier turned to me and said, I have the copy of that record. He said, I really like it. He said, thank you so much for making that. He said, I didn't know who the composer was. It's a real honor to meet you. And my gosh, my eyes filled up, and I just was so emotionally moved. This was the reason that we made the record. Yeah. Was this fellow here who had been to war and defending our country and everything, and here he was saying how thrilled he was to meet me. It was a very emotional moment for me.
I've often thought of that as something to focus people when they think about music and the importance and the weight of music. That if anyone who's in an army or in a situation where they have to do a lot of drill or they have to march across a country and it can be tiresome and gruesome, they do it to music.
Hey, the bagpipes.
It's like you want to go to battle, you do it to music. You want to commemorate great victories or your friends, you do it to music.
Sure, the national anthems and all that sort of stuff. And music is a part of our social culture for sure, and a very important part.
And I think we undersell that a lot sometimes. We don't understand that we are humans, and music has the ability to get underneath our skin. And
yes, it can manipulate the emotions. That's the idea. And when you're performing too, you have that transfer emotion. We don't understand it on a scientific level yet, but believe me, it does exist. I give off the emotion as a performer. The audience receives the emotion and gives back an emotion to me, which amplifies it like a tuning fork in me, and that becomes the transcending aspect of music. It's wonderful magic.
Yeah, it is. It's magic. Yeah. Speaking of magic, one of the few last two tunes I want to touch on is Saxland. This piece I think is magical.
That's my another album, Saxland. Welcome to Saxland. Pretty cool cartoon. I don't know. You won't be able to see it too well here, I know, but there's all cartoon characters back here, and these are the guys that play in a song, like one of the lyrics is Uncle Joe and Aunt Sal, or whatever, you know what I mean, and waiting on number 9. I got a bottle of XXX cooking sherry in my back pocket. You have to look really closely to see that. But these are cartoons, and I'm going in to be there, and then, of course, I become a cartoon myself.
Very San Francisco.
When I get into Saxland. And what happened, recorded a live album with Mike Barthelmer, He had Pine Street Recording Studios. He calls it something else now. I'm not sure what garden.
Pine Lock or no?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, great fellow, great producer, great engineer, great facility, recording studio. He recorded live Cactus Fest with Trick Bag, and one of the songs on this record, we're not going to play it. Saturday Night Fish Fry. I get a chuckle out of it. Is actually off of Cactus Redux by Trick Bag, live recording. And so there was a little glitch. We did the recording live. It turned out really great. They captured the show. It was good. It was so good that they made a record out of it. But there was a small glitch, and we had to go back into the studio and repair the small glitch, which was like 2 bars on this side of the glitch and 2 bars on this side of the glitch. So we had to do the drum part over, do the bass part over, do the vocal part over, and whatnot. So I was in there, and everybody took their turn to go into the studio and record their little bit. And so I did some vocal things, and Mike Patron was behind the board, and he said, okay, well, we're done with the vocal things now. Now we're going to go to Saxland. I said, go to Saxland? And it just hit something. I said, I'm going to write a song like that. I'm going to write a song about going to Saxland. I love that, Mike. I'm going to write a song about that. So I wound up doing the whole album called Welcome to Saxland. This is the title track from it, and it's called Welcome to Saxland. It's a song I wrote as a result of that.
There you go, at barbershoppodcast.com.
Saxman's wailing on an old wooden crate. The bass man's walking and he sure sounds great. Hound dog howling on a Saturday night. Stick man's laying down a solid beat. The guitar's jumping, make you move your feet. Hey, Barber, let's have a party tonight. Let me take you to Saxland. Yeah, we're going to Saxland. They got a red hot band, they're gonna rock your blues away. Everybody down to Saxland. Come on, we're going to Saxland. And we may never come back. We're balling the jet. Now don't be late, I'll be waiting on the coat about 7:45. Yeah, with my wig hat on. Old Aunt Betty and Uncle Joe, they'll be there, they never miss a show. Saxland band makes me feel like a kid again. Welcome to Saxland. Hey, we're rocking in we got a red hot band, we're gonna rock your troubles away. Everybody down to Saxland. Yeah, we're going to Saxland. And we may never come back. We're balling the jack, dancing the night away. Now come on, we gotta get there soon. You know they always run out of room. When the clock strikes 10, don't worry about the weather, 'cause we're gonna get together tonight. Saxland, yeah, they're rocking in Saxland. They got a red hot band, they're gonna rock your blues away. Let me take you to Saxland. You're always welcome in Saxland. And we may never come back. We're falling the jack, and this is the night away. This is the night away.
Saxland.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, I have to say.
The music on that record is like a lot of jump and jive and music, which I tried to, once again, when I directed, I commissioned the cartoon artist to do that front cover, and the music is like animated music somehow. You know, it's got that jump and jive and it's cartoonish sort of thing. I really like that.
It's it's been a long, full career. You've been playing from a very young age, and you're almost 70 years old now. This show is a bit of a retrospective. You've made it a wide, deep mark. But what's music given to you? What would you take away from it?
Gee, that's the magic of that transcending moment that I talked to you about earlier. Every gig is a blessing to me. Every performance is a blessing to me, and I certainly dedicate all my music to God or whatever, the betterment of humankind, to bring a little joy into the world in some way or something. And so I feel that that's my calling, and that's my work, is to just bring a little happiness or something. And I've always tried to do that. And the transcending emotion, the elevated consciousness that I get from performing is there's something magical about it that I discovered early. It was magic. There was magic. Making music was, especially with friends. You don't notice it as a solo performer. With friends, you have 5 musicians or 4 musicians in the band, and you're playing a song. Well, you create something that's larger than the sum of the individuals.
Yes.
Something magical happens, and it's that magic that's always appealed to me.
Yeah, and it's really hard to define.
It's a gift. It's a blessing.
And it does. It goes through you, and I'm glad you touched on that. Not only how it strengthens a relationship and friendships, how it makes it strong, but the act of playing live. A lot of people say, man, there's a lot of work and a lot of expense, a lot of hassle to play live.
That's always been my what I love is the playing live. Other people like Georgie Fab, my producer, he didn't play for 14 years. He didn't play live. Just he made 20 or 30 great record albums in his recording studio. And that sort of thing, and he was really enjoying that, and lots of people do really enjoy that, being in the studio musicians and working like that. But for me, it was always the live performance, and continues to be the live performance. I don't care if there's 6 people or 16,000. I still play my heart out. It was just one person. You still play your heart out for it. I don't leave anything on the table or anything. I don't hold back anything. I let it all go every time I play.
Yeah, and someone else who did the exact same thing was Richard Newell, who, the last song we're going to play tonight anyway. And again, you look on barbershoppodcast.com. You're going to have all of Sonny's links, and you can get all of these songs that you heard, plus many more. Download them singles or buy the album. But King Biscuit Boy, tell me a little bit about Two Hound Blues.
King Biscuit Boy is a great guy. He was a really great guy, and of course, the tragedy. He succumbed to the demoned alcohol. That was his big problem throughout his career, and as it is for many, many, many other musicians, it's a real hazard of the industry of the performing. You're performing live 6 nights a week in a place where they serve booze, and your whole life gets around booze, and you get hooked up on the booze and other drugs too, of course, and everything. But so that was a big problem for him. But he was such a gifted musician and such a generous man, generous in his musical knowledge. He sought out religiously. He sought the knowledge and earned the respect. And he shared that willingly with everybody and anybody. He had that little house up in the mountain, lived there all his life, and every night there'd be people there all the time, and just soaking up his knowledge and just hanging out with him. He's a very, very witty, charming company. Until after he got the first Mickey, and it became a real pain in the ass. But I recorded on several of his albums, and he recorded on several of my albums. That Treat Your Baby Right we heard earlier, and of course that was really in the video clip you see Reg Titian playing the harmonica. Reg, got to check out that. That was actually King Biscuit Boy, of course, on the recording. But this record, we played together, but then we made a record together. We thought we'd do this record, this CD together, and Two Hound Blues. And it turned out to be the last record he recorded before he passed away, pretty much, I think it was. And this is the title track from that record, called Two Hound Blues.
All right, you're hearing it here at the Barbershop Podcast.
On a Saturday night. Well, I got my
Now that probably was as much fun to record as it sounded like recording.
It was a lot of fun, yeah. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with Richard over the years.
And, you know, I have to say that I don't think you'd be doing this at this point if you didn't have fun probably every time.
That's true.
Did it, right?
No, I really have a lot of fun. I do. I really have a lot of fun every time I play, yeah.
Well, it's infectious, and I'm glad you play. I hope you keep on playing.
Thanks. I love to mentor the younger ones, too, when they're coming up, so come and say hello, and, you know.
Yeah, pretty soon you're going to be doing your own tour at the old age home, and you'll be up there.
I'll be looking around for my next apartment.
Well, I've learned a lot
to pick up a little action on the side.
Yeah, on the side, and you know, the little nurses will slip you some of the good blue pills at the end of the night, because those are the ones that are really going to help you out. 4 hours of good times. Ryan, thanks again for helping.
Thanks, Ryan.
With going on.
It was a blast. This is a great one.
It was really a lot of fun.
Those great stories.
And I know that the expense account, you must be really set back for that elaborate green room. You really.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
You really went all out there.
It's tough getting the CGI wood paneling.
Yeah.
It's hard to get that.
And you know what? And we didn't get the full catering service because.
Well, it's quite a spread.
Yeah, no.
Quite a spread.
The helicopter coming in from Maine with the fresh lobster didn't make it because some sort of hold up at customs.
Yeah.
But we'll take care of you next time. I promise. We'll be more than bubblegum and tuna fish.
Okay.
Thanks for coming out. Thanks for everyone for watching. Barbershop Podcast, episode 32. Next week, we've got Waxmatic in here. I got a show you're going to have to check out. The guy is really talented, a really interesting dude.
Yeah, for sure.
And Sonny, again, thanks for coming out. And
my pleasure, Kevin.
Yeah, everyone, take care. We'll see you next week.
God bless you.
Ya.